Next, we will use the triangle angle sum theorem to work out these problems. And the question is asking, what are the values of x and y in the figure? All right, let's start with this first one. We're looking at x, so we're going to just use this triangle right here. All right, if you can see, we have x degrees plus 96 degrees plus 35 degrees is going to equal 180 degrees because all the angles in the triangle add up to 180. Now we can solve for x. We can just take 180 and minus the 96 and the 35 degrees. When we do that, we find that x equals 49 degrees. But we also need to solve for y. All right, in y, we have I'm just deciding which triangle, how we want to do this. If I look at the whole triangle, then we can take the 77, we can take the x, and we can take the y and 35 to figure out what all the angles in this triangle are. So we'll write an equation with y first, and then we have 35 being added to it to get that angle that's right here. Then we can add this bottom angle, 77, and then we can add the x angle, and altogether that will equal 180 degrees. Now, the x we just figured out in the last step was 49. So we'll just say that y equals 180 degrees minus 35 minus 77. And instead of putting x, I'm going to just put the 49. When you do all of that subtraction, you get 19 degrees. All right, and let's go on to the next problem. Same thing, we're looking for x and y, what those equal. So we'll start with the x, and I'm going to say that x plus 57 plus 59 equals 180 degrees. So x equals 180 degrees minus 57 degrees and minus 59 degrees, which gives us x equaling, do that subtraction, 64 degrees. All right. Now we want to solve for y. Well, y is going to equal, or let's say that y plus 42 degrees plus, what's this? Well, that's going to be the same as what x was. So if x was 64, then this is also 64 degrees. So if we're looking at this triangle, trying to solve for y, we're going to have y plus 42 plus 64 equals 180 degrees. Now I'm just going to solve for y, so 180 degrees minus 42 minus 64. That is going to equal 74 degrees. Awesome. We have another apply problem. Cheyenne built this display for her ornament collection. Each shelf is parallel to the base. She recalls only the angle measures shown in the diagram. Now she wants to build another just like it. What are the measures of angles 1, 2, and 3? All right, we will start with angle 1, which is right here. And since the bases are parallel, we're going to look at what angle corresponds to angle 1. Well, we don't really have an angle that corresponds to 1, but this 75, if I use this transversal, the 75 is actually corresponding to this whole piece right here. So you can use your colored pencils to make this a little more obvious. Well, if that is true, then 75 degrees is equal to the measure of angle 1 plus the 55 degrees. And if you do a little subtraction, you'll see that the measure of angle 1 equals 20 degrees, and that was by corresponding angles. All right, now I'm going to use a different color, which is blue, to figure out what angle 2 is. So angle 2 is right here, and actually the measure of angle, the measure of angle 1 and the measure of angle 2, when we put them together, it's going to equal 75. And why is that? By the exterior angle theorem. Triangle, exterior angle theorem. And I forgot to put that theorem in your notes, but we'll also have some more practice with this. The triangle exterior theorem says that if we have this whole triangle right here, this blue one, then the measures inside the triangle, the remote angles 1 and 2, I made it hard to see angle 1 now, but angles 1 and 2 have to equal 75 degrees, because 75 plus whatever this angle is would equal 180 degrees. And since a triangle has 180 degrees total, then angles 1 and 2, the measures of angles 1 and 2, sorry, that's a little crowded. Let me fix that. Equal the exterior angle, which was 75. And since we already know what angle 1 was, it was 20, we can solve for angle 2 by subtracting. And so what would the measure of angle 2 be? Yeah, 55. So now it's a little tricky since we didn't go over the exterior angle theorem, but just know that if you have an outside angle, right here we had this outside angle, it's not part of the blue triangle, then the angles that don't line up with it will add up to be, those two angles will add up to be that exterior angle. And then we need to figure out the measure of angle 3, which is right here. And we will use the angle sum theorem for that. Angle sum theorem. And we will say that we'll actually take this big triangle right here. And we have 45 degrees in this angle up here. We have 45 degrees on the bottom. And then we have the 55, which is right here on this part. We have 55 degrees. We have angle 1, which we know is 20 degrees. And then we have angle 3. If we add all of those together, we get 180 degrees by the angle sum theorem. Triangle angle sum theorem. All right, so then if we solve for the measure of angle 3, that would be 180 degrees minus 45, minus 45, minus 55, minus 20, which if you figure all that out, you end up getting 15. The measure of angle 3 is 15 degrees. Nice work.